Okay, I want you to start with a little thought experiment.
Hmm.
Imagine two coffee shops. They open up, say, 6 months apart, right across the street from each other.
Hmm.
They use the same high-end espresso machine. They source their beans from the same exact place. Prices are identical. And honestly, the staff are equally friendly.
So quality is a wash, basically.
A total wash. But 5 years later, one of them has a line wrapping around the block every single morning, and the other one is, fighting just to make rent.
Hmm.
What is the fundamental difference?
It's a fantastic place to start because the sources we dove into today tell us it's not the coffee.
All right.
And it's not the location. It is what one of them successfully achieved in that critical 5 inches between the customer's ears.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our sources today are all pulling from a foundational text of modern business strategy. Ries and Jack Trout's 1981 classic, Positioning, The Battle for Your Mind.
And when this book came out, it was genuinely radical.
It really was. It totally flipped the script on what marketing was even supposed to do. So our mission for this deep dive is to understand that marketing isn't about making your product better. It's about conquering and owning a specific valuable position in the customer's mind.
And the authors, right from the jump, they defined the battlefield perfectly.
Which is?
It's the mind, not the physical marketplace. The competition isn't fought on shelves or in a features list. It's fought on, mental real estate.
And the stakes couldn't be higher.
Exactly, because once a position is claimed in someone's mind, whether that's the cheapest or the most reliable or the luxury choice, it establishes this powerful cognitive barrier, a huge wall. You can throw money and features at that position all day long, but dislodging that established mental slot is, it's nearly impossible.
And the reward for winning that mental battle.
That's the big prize.
It's what they call pricing power. If you own a unique mental space, you've created a category of one. And suddenly the customer isn't comparing your price to anyone else's.
Price comparison just becomes irrelevant.
Because you are the defined choice for a specific job.
Mm.
And a premium price, it stops being a luxury and it starts being expected. You have officially exited the feature war.
And that's the ultimate goal. But to get there, you have to embrace what the sources call the uncomfortable truth.
Let's start right there, because this is where the philosophy of positioning clashes directly with conventional business wisdom. Principle 1. Positioning is about perception, not reality. Why is this such a hard pill for, say, a really focused entrepreneur to swallow?
Yeah.
Why are they so obsessed with objective product perfection when Ries and Trout just bluntly state that the quality doesn't matter as much as the mental position?
I think it's because it forces them to confront a harsh reality about human psychology. Businesses, they exist in this closed loop where they obsess over reality-better features, faster service, cleaner design.
Right, the tangible stuff.
The tangibles. But customers, they exist in a state of chronic, painful information overload. They're just assaulted by thousands of messages a day. They do not have the time or the mental energy for objective analysis.
They just rely on shortcuts.
Entirely on cognitive shortcuts.
So the argument is that the objectively best product is simply irrelevant if it takes too much mental energy for the customer to even process why it's the best.
Exactly. The best product doesn't win. The product that is easiest to place and recall in the customer's mental index, that's the one that wins. It's the product with the best position.
Okay.
The authors argue that focusing entirely on reality is kind of a fool's errand when the ultimate decision is made in the world of perception.
That makes a ton of sense in a world of limited attention.
Yeah.
Let's use the example from the sources, the pizza restaurant. The one focused on product versus the one focused on position.
Right. So the product-focused approach is the intuitive one, but it's doomed. The owner spends 6 months perfecting the dough, tests 40 different sauces, hires the best chef.
All the right things, you'd think.
You'd think. And then they launch, claiming, the best pizza in town. And the mental result? 0. Nothing.
Because every pizza place says that.
Every single one claims to be the best. The claim is just instantly filtered out as noise.
So if you're listening to this and you're out there claiming to be the best service provider or the highest quality contractor, you're actually using the losing strategy.
You are. The successful strategy is position focus. The successful restaurant doesn't talk about quality first. They talk about the unique space they fill.
Okay, so what do they say?
They position themselves as New York-style pizza by the slice open until 3 a.m.
That is surgically precise. They are no longer competing with the other pizza places.
Not at all.
They've claimed ownership over the late-night quick meal category.
They own the need. When someone is leaving a late shift or a bar at 1 a.m., they don't spend time comparing sauce quality. They immediately recall the one place that owns the mental slot for late night slice.
That distinction is just critical.
It is. If you are struggling against competitors who frankly have inferior products, your confusion comes from fighting a reality war when they're out there winning a perception war.
They claimed easiest to use or fastest delivery.
And they own that mental ground, regardless of your superior features.
So the real work isn't perfecting the product, it's perfecting the mental framework the customer uses to understand your product.
Yeah.
It's a complete shift in resource allocation.
Absolutely. You stop pouring resources into feature parity, and you start pouring resources into achieving mental clarity.
Okay, so let's move into the strategic side of this, starting with principle 2. It's better to be first than to be better. No, wait a minute.
I knew you'd jump on that one.
Have to challenge that. If I develop a software that is, demonstrably 10 times faster, cheaper, and safer than the first one on the market, shouldn't I eventually win? Why is being first such an insurmountable advantage?
Because memory is associative, not objective. Our brains are indexed like a library. The first person to occupy a shelf space becomes the definitive reference point. The Neil Armstrong analogy from the book is perfect. First man on the moon, everyone knows him.
Of course.
Who was the second man? Almost nobody remembers, even though he also had incredible skill and bravery.
It's that cognitive permanence. The first entrant sets the benchmark that everyone else is compared against.
And the customer often just assumes first equals best.
Right.
They become the market leader in the mind, regardless of the features you launched in your version 2.0. And this immediately changes the strategic question for every business leader.
Okay.
You have to stop asking, how can I make a slightly better version? And you start asking, where can I be first in the customer's mind?
That forces you to seek out the white space, doesn't it? If I'm entering a crowded software market, for example, just trying to compete generally with the big guys is a death sentence.
It is. If you launch a project management app aimed at teams who need organization, you are fighting Trello, Asana, and dozens of others on their turf. They own that general position.
So the first strategy says you have to niche down.
You niche down until you are first in a specific mind space.
So instead of a general tool, you define yourself as, say, the first project management app built specifically for construction site teams managing multiple job sites.
Now you're number one. When a construction manager opens their phone, they aren't looking for a general app. They're looking for the solution that understands their world, the physical environment, the regulations, offline sync.
You own that category first.
And that compounds forever because you are now the reference point.
What if you look around and the market just genuinely feels saturated? Like every niche seems claimed, every category has a leader. This leads us right into the logical follow-up, principle 3.
Right, and this is the strategic pivot for the late entrant. If you cannot be first in an existing category, create a new category where you can be number one.
This is crucial.
It is. You are not necessarily inventing a new product, but you are inventing a new way to think about the problem.
You mentioned 7UP, historically. They couldn't beat Coke or Pepsi or the original cola.
Yep. So what did they do? They positioned themselves as the uncola. They defined a whole new category by opposition. They created a mental slot for people who didn't want the brown, established soda.
They weren't competing on taste.
They were competing on concept. And we see this everywhere. Avis couldn't be number one in size against Hertz, so they carved out a new position by saying, we try harder. They created the position of the focused, scrappy service provider.
Let's bring that into a modern example. A new fitness studio opens. The general gym space is just packed with giants.
Yeah, a general gym means you compete on price, proximity, and equipment. A new category means you redefine what fitness even is.
So you become?
You become the only gym that guarantees you will never work out more than 20 minutes because we specialize in high-intensity, maximum efficiency sessions.
You just created and owned the category of efficient workouts for busy people. You are the first and only option in that mental space. So the core takeaway here is that if a market feels crowded, it just means you haven't sliced it finely enough yet. You haven't created the new mental box where you can be the undisputed leader.
That's the entire game. Saturation is a failure of imagination, not a lack of opportunity.
Okay, so far we've been focused on defining our own space. But sometimes you have to engage in competitive warfare.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to principle 4, advanced positioning strategy, or repositioning. We often see businesses try to directly attack the market leader, saying, We have better service than competitor X.
Right.
But Ries and Trout say this usually backfires. Why is a direct confrontation a positional mistake?
Because a direct attack is basically an endorsement. When you say we are better than competitor X, you are reinforcing that competitor X is the standard, they're the benchmark.
You're helping the customer remember them.
You are. Strategic repositioning, on the other hand, it attacks the competitor's position in the customer's mind. It fundamentally changes how the customer perceives them.
So it's not about winning a tug of war within their frame. It's about shifting the whole game to a different field.
Absolutely. Think about the classic battle against Starbucks. The failed approach is to launch your independent shop and claim, our beans are better quality, our baristas are more skilled.
Right. Who has time to test that?
Nobody. And they've already indexed Starbucks as the coffee leader anyway.
So what's the repositioning move?
You attack the category they occupy. Instead of saying, we sell better coffee, you start pushing the narrative. Real coffee, not a sugary milkshake.
Oh. By doing that, you've just redefined Starbucks from a coffee shop to a high-calorie dessert bar.
You moved them.
Precisely. You haven't made any claims about their beans. You just changed their position on the consumer's mental map. And this immediately creates a massive vacuum for your business to claim the position of the authentic adult coffee option.
You shifted the terms of the fight to a field you can win on.
That's it. And this translates perfectly to professional services, too. If I'm a high-end custom design agency fighting those platforms that offer cheap automated logos.
Yes.
The losing strategy is to claim, we're worth more than $99.
That just sounds defensive. It puts you on the back foot talking about price. The winning repositioning strategy is to target the outcome of their cheap product. You say something like, templates make you look generic and forgettable. We make you look like you matter.
Oh, that's good.
You've just repositioned cheap templates from a cost-effective solution to inherently risky and amateur.
And now the buyer, who cares about professionalism, sees the template route as a massive risk to their brand equity. You are the natural safe harbor.
Exactly. It's a brilliant strategy because it uses their strength standardization as their greatest weakness. And it paves the road for your unique value. It gives you permission to charge higher prices because you're solving the fear of irrelevance.
Okay, now we need to anchor all this in Principle 5, which is where the rubber really meets the road. The power of focus narrow is powerful. I have to admit, this is the scariest part for most businesses. The fear of narrowing, of, walking away from potential customers, it feels like self-sabotage.
It does.
If I focus on just one thing, won't I lose everyone else?
That is the widespread internal fear, but the authors explain that it's based on a faulty premise. If you try to be everything to everyone, strategy, operations, marketing, sales, you are broad, fuzzy, and instantly rejected by the mind.
What?
The customer can't easily categorize you, so they categorize you as nothing. Broad positioning means you own nothing.
So why does narrow positioning override that fear?
Because narrow positioning means you own something, and something beats nothing every single time. When you are ruthlessly narrow, you become the obvious, undeniable choice for that specific segment. You reduce their cognitive load to zero.
Let's make that crystal clear with the consultant example. The general consultant lists, 6 areas of expertise and serves startups to Fortune 500.
And that consultant is instantly forgotten because they specialize in nothing. The narrow consultant, however, says, I help B2B SaaS companies increase customer retention from 70% to 90% in 12 months.
And if I'm the CEO of a B2B SaaS company and my retention is 75%, you're the only person I call. I don't need to shop around.
That instantaneous trust is the power of narrow positioning. You're not just a consultant, you are the retention specialist for SaaS. And here is the paradox the sources highlight.
What's that?
Ownership of that narrow position often leads to broader opportunities later. Once you solve their retention problem, they will say, that worked so well, can you also look at our sales process?
But you have to earn that credibility by owning the first clear thing.
Unforgettable comes before broad.
That clarity is the key to finally achieving sustainable growth and escaping the price wars. And the beauty of this source material is that it doesn't just give you theory. It gives you an immediate, actionable 5-step exercise you can do right now to diagnose and fix your own positioning.
Yeah, we can walk through it because the most crucial part of this exercise is step 1. Ruthless honesty.
Yeah.
Open a blank document and write down what position you actually own in the customer's mind today. Not what you aspire to own, but what the market currently recognizes you for. This requires checking your ego at the door.
I think that's where most people fail. They write what they hope is true.
For sure.
Step 2 forces the check, which is to reach out to 3 past customers and ask them the one word or phrase that pops into their head when they think of your business.
Yeah.
That comparison is brutal.
That's step 3, the diagnosis. If the answer you wrote in step 1 doesn't align with the answers from your customers, you have a massive positioning problem. You have an internal reality that conflicts with the external perception.
And that gap is where revenue dies.
Exactly.
Then we move to the solution. Step 4 forces clarity by making you synthesize everything into one clear, narrow, specific sentence. It follows a template. We are the position for a specific customer type.
That single sentence becomes your strategic compass. It forces you to define your position and your target customer at the same time.
And finally, step 5, commit. Commit to aligning everything you do. Your website, your sales script, your hiring, your product roadmap, with that single, narrow sentence.
And if an activity doesn't support that claim, you ruthlessly cut it. That focus is the path to gaining power and becoming undeniable in a specific segment.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? The central lesson from Ries and Trout, written decades ago but more relevant now than ever, is that the battle for customers is won or lost in the mind.
It's that simple.
Most businesses will continue to fight the product battle, the features, the price, the quality, and they will continue to suffer from the exhaustion of competition.
But you now have the strategic blueprint. You understand that the real fight is positional. You need to own a precise mental space, be first in something, or create a new category entirely.
And that understanding is the strategic advantage that translates directly into sustainable growth and clarity. And for that final provocative thought to leave you with, we know that strategic positioning leads to pricing power, but it requires aligning the entire operational structure. So now that you've done the diagnosis and defined your specific narrow position in that one perfect sentence,
Yeah.
what is the first non-marketing, operational, or structural change you need to make today to ensure your entire business model, from customer service scripts to product development, supports that one narrow mental position?
That alignment is where the real power lies. The battle begins now. Get positioned.